Another week, another episode. And here we are, my fellow cultists. I greet you all back. I've gathered some interesting topics to discuss for your amusement. You know, the usual routine. So without further ado, let's get to it. In this episode, we shall be looking to the construction of the foundation for the main structure of the base. That was a mouthful. So there is more or less a going back and forth between the underworld and here to gather materials. In the last episode, I've gathered a whole lot of deep slate, so it is safe to say there's no shortage of it for now. That would be accompanied with stone bricks and cobblestone, which will be used in conjunction with shroomlight for the lighting. On the matter of this building, it is going to be a sort of annex. Well, that term should be very loosely used because the sheer size of the building will suggest that the fortress is the annex instead of the other way around. But focusing on the architecture, the aspect of a menacing landmark would arise from this main area. The design is a fair bit complicated. The reason being, there are many features which I have to incorporate within it. There is a tower section I introduced in the first episode which will house the main spirit tower. Next to it will be the main halls which will require a massive hole in the ground for the general purpose storage depot. The next feature has some relation with my personal preferences. You see, when it comes to organizing stuff, I'm not a fan of keeping everything in a single place. Therefore, my method is to distribute a giant system into many smaller relatable segments. With that being said, the main tower will be host to the drops related to the wandering souls. The fortress will house farming resources and the main halls for just about anything else. I should also address some behind the scenes stuff. The first major update is regarding the state of the Discord server. It is kind of working, but not really working at all. The main problem being that I have implemented a welcome and verification channel for the server, yet the results I'm getting are not consistent. Sometimes it works, other times it's totally derp. So what I did was to do the same thing every student and new learner would do. Resort to YouTube in hopes of finding the relatable Indian guy to seek the wisdom from. How did it turn out? Not very particularly good, as it should be obvious from my change of accent. Instead, I had to first adapt the Indian speech tone, and it just became a hassle because I ended up watching Jungle House survival videos, complemented by Mumbai street food compilations, and had to wash it down with watching Jim Browning honing Indian scammers. Why did it turn out like this? I have absolutely no clue. But in the end, I've gained some entertainment from the journey in hopes of finding the Indian RPG themed Discord server tutorial guy. I swear those people are sometimes a lifesaver when it comes to university projects and school homeworks. Because the number of times I solved an issue with their help is countless. So yeah, to all you Indian tutorial guys out there, Godspeed and keep up the good work. Alrighty, back to Minecraft. We should talk about the method I would employ for the construction process. I intend on building the foundation with the appropriate runes carved. The reason being so that I can implement the warp spell once more. And yet, there is a fairly long progress ahead, since the spell is still recharging. On the other hand, I must appreciate that my demonic half is unbelievably tireless to work this much in a single run. Yet I don't know how we can possibly shorten this lengthy ordeal without the usage of my magic. Talk of the demon, we got a new profile picture for the channel, made by a friend of mine. In return, he only asked to be left unmentioned and did this just as a little bit of a favor so that it may bring me luck with my progress on this website. I highly appreciate your time and effort, mate. If you're watching this, I love the memento mori vibes you put into the picture. With that being said, I also wanted to elaborate on how the warp spell actually— Pause the video. Please pay attention to these stone brick columns right here. It is going to be important in a bit. Alright, continuing with the warp spell and freeze the screen. It works. If you can recall the looks of the castle's floor design, you should remember that there are some shapes and markings embedded into the tiles. Well, the main mechanic is kind of like the Call of Duty airstrikes, but instead of dropping rage quit material, it will bend time and space to join the future to the present. Those runes are the indicator that where the point of effect should be. Otherwise, the results would shock you tenfold than a Darman video. And that would point out what I'm going to talk about. Darman is a success full dead horse at this point. Well, the guy portrays everyday issues with too much fantasy involved and addresses a stupid outcome than what would actually happen. The problems he brings up are real life issues. Okay, I get that. Yet call me an unsympathetic sociopath, but that ain't how problems are solved. His success is because he made an angsty teenager somewhere become hopeful with their insecurities, which is a noble cause, and it made him famous. While on the other hand, the ways you suggest would be a lesson to be learned are terrible, poorly executed, and highly stupid when you put it in exercise. And that's why he became a laughingstock for the rest of the world. Ignoring the positivity within it, still, I'm pretty sure he knows this himself, but he and Mrs. Taylor do have something major in common. Their eyes turning into them Ben Franklins by the sweet smell of the almighty dollar. And he doesn't care about the morals at all. The money isn't the issue, he worked for it obviously. But if I was to preach something and make a living out of it, I would at least want something worthy of my time and patience to invest in. Not just something my paranoid aunt or uncle would send in the family groups because they think those kids nowadays, they need to be taught about manners and respect. And I'm bored with my life because I got nothing better to do. That doesn't just make sense. If I was to take one of his abominations and make a commentary review about it, I would have to ask for his permission if I want to keep uploading videos. Just imagine how that conversation would go. In my mind, it would sound something like this. And hey there, Mr. Doll Person, I want your acknowledgement to take a huge on your eye-opening and inspirational documentaries. Also, could you please inspire a few less knockoffs every now and then? I'm pretty sure someone out there is bringing your unrealistic drama into their lives and getting the double bullying sessions from it. But I suppose that's why copyright exists, so that everyone gets to do what they want to do. Well, that was a wild rant, and I'm not sure it would be the end of it either. But if Darman would get to watch this, then it would be an absolute win for me. Anyways, back to Minecraft. For the next topic, let's discuss what will happen after this structure is erected. There is a matter of civil engineering worthy of bringing up. We will have the main base on the coastline consisting of the fortifications, the main tower, and the Grand Hall, which is explained into oblivion by this point. Then there is the starting base, which will be left as a starting point for when I decide to host this map as a public server. I will repurpose it to function as a modern day garage equivalent for the time I need to prepare for other projects. You'd get the gist. Every DIY project starts in the garage, and the primitive tools along with the prerequisites are stashed there and whatnot. Aside from me getting carried away and not finishing the spider focal point, there is a massive ravine system next to it that needs some exploring. Maybe we'll find something good there, and on the other hand, maybe the shed should be a little bit expanded to also function as a horse stable area. Then there would be that fishing outpost on the eastern shoreline that would be host to the party in charge of finding Ethan's team new scammers to bait. Hold on. Sorry, wrong instance of fishing. They will be for protecting the canal and giving the small oceanic village vibes. Other than that, there would be no relative purpose aside from the aesthetics to that village. Then the surrounding lands near the main base are to be brandishing a dense forest with a combination of jungle, dark oak, and tall spruce trees, as long as it won't affect the two main factors of the base drastically. These are probably the things I imagined for this area, and since it isn't permanently decided, maybe some of these side quests are to be added or removed. Afterwards, there are the overhauls for any suitable village that I may come across, which is a very simple concept, so I'm not going to further discuss it. And instead, we shall take this time to tell a recent story that happened to me. To explain what's gonna be told, I should introduce the overall backstory behind it. I have two friends named Sean and Alex. Now, Alex is my long-term buddy whom I met in university and we were classmates. And till this day, we remained in close contact. He introduced me to Sean on a business case 7 years ago, and the project we had was a bit complicated. but it resulted in an on-off going back and forth between me and Sean. Something like 3 years ago, before the pandemic started, Sean and I became close friends and partners in crime. The crime being, I would bring him business cases to engage with, and so did he in doing the same thing for me. In the end, the partnership remains till this day. Sean and Alex were hanging out with a bunch of other people when suddenly Sean had to depart due to personal circumstances. He had other plans for that evening, so he left before dinner time to attend his schedule. The others, aside from Alex, were oblivious to the matter, so they just started asking what's going on, right? For a long time, these two were planning on a prank, which I had no clue about it. That night, Alex posted a story on Instagram which had a picture of the airport with the text reading, "Farewell to you, my brother." And Sean had went absolutely AWOL for a couple of days at this point. I had some suspicions that, hey, something smells fishy here, and I'm not talking about the contents of Baldrick's pants. I replied to the story with, "Yo dude, what the heck, what's going on?" To which Alex responded, "Yeah, Sean has traveled to the Emirates to attend the barista tournaments, and he will probably stay there and work as a highly decorated barista within a respectable chain brand. And he intends on establishing a facility to teach and introduce the newcomers to the field of cafe businesses as a side hustle." Now, I was shocked in the doorman sense that why didn't Sean tell me this stuff earlier, and he just ghosted on everyone. So I got a bit sad and happy at the same time, being filled with joy that my friend is going to accomplish something big, while I don't have a faint clue when will be the next time we would get to hang out. When I was talking to my family that day, they cheered and congratulated and expressed the same joy and grief as I did. Yet this was only for 12 hours. At night time, Alex posted another story that was, "Sorry y'all got stationed." What is the term of station? Or the act of stationing he used? Well, it's a slang term we kinda invented that means to fool someone very seriously. How was it coined? Here's the explanation. Well, imagine that I will take you to an abandoned bus station, which only I know it is abandoned, and I will tell you to wait here for the bus to arrive, and we will wait. Only that after a very long time, the victim realizes that there will be no bus coming, and all this time they were just fooled. I really don't want to tell how this phenomenon was first introduced, though. Now, when he first posted that story, I didn't pay attention and frankly didn't even open it, because I was busy with editing and recording. So I called Alex to talk to him, asking him questions on how this happened and why didn't Sean bring this up beforehand. After a good half an hour of ranting and babbling, he said, "Did you see my story on Instagram?" To which I replied, "Yes, it was at the airport." And it was then that he started to burst into a state of maniacal laughter. And from that, I realized he got me bamboozled quite literally. It was at this moment Bez knew she messed up. Remember that specific column I talked about? That one mistake has cost me this. A wall's down the line and I can't resume building unless the mistakes are fixed. And it took me 2 days to correct a 5-second error, and countless hours of recording gone to waste. So I went back and removed everything and redone everything, and at this time, I think it should be lining up. Note to self and a valuable lesson for your fellow cultists. If you want to make a gigantic build for YouTube, always make a version in creative mode and then follow it by the template you've made. Otherwise it will end up like this. Now roll the track please. And then double the time I spent on emotional stuff I spent on just swearing like a sailor. Which if I want to quote word by word, the tuturu would play the whole time. After the situation de-escalated and he stopped laughing and I stopped cussing, he filled me in on the whole scheme. The honest and non-exaggerated short version is that the number of people who fell for it are very huge. And I quite figuratively mean pretty much everyone in that social group, which is comprised of 50 to 60 individuals, along with a vast range of relatives and associates we knew, fell for it. The beautiful method they executed is very genius, and it is obvious much planning went into it. So they told every single person who went into this metaphorical station a unique explanation and reason for Sean's absence. Imagine that. A constructed logical lie backed by many facts, which could be proven, which fooled a lot of people. And every single person bought it. I'll leave it be for now so that I can have more time in telling you the aftermath of what happened later, because I don't think this episode's length would allow me to highlight how magnificently Sean and Alex played their hands. Now that the beach's walls and access route are nearing completion, it will be time to do some terraforming, by which I mean busting out the explosives and going to town like Nagato went on to Konoha. There is a very good possibility that I will be getting carried away for the dirt removal services, but it will be worth it. Also, the shack could not hold the drops from this session up the thing goes boom, so I've put some chests nearby until I can clear up some room for it elsewhere. Afterwards, we are descending to the underworld. Yet again, we are in need of shroom lights and warped wood. This time it will be for the cavities of the walkway and the cal housing units, but as far as the decorating of the walls go, it should end up looking dope from a long distance. Also, I'm starting to doubt the decision about the shroom light, as it could be a bit easier if I shift towards glowstone for the parts that are only emitting light and not visible, so that I can keep the shroom light for the areas that have some visibility, and the best way for that would be trading with villagers, which could be more efficient and faster. Maybe you should tell me about it in the comments section. What was I supposed to say? I remember we came down here to gather something. Yet, what was it? What was it I was talking about? There was that fireball that came towards me. It caught me by surprise. I'm sure I wasn't drinking, so I don't know why my head is spinning all over the place. Let me think. Something in the lines of ending? Or was it the part I say subscribe and stuff? Nah. Too soon. I just arrived here, but I'm pretty sure I just started recording right now, so... Nope, it's not coming out. Before I start the recap for this episode, make sure to leave a like and ring the notify bell, and hey, let me share a little secret. The cult is open to new members, so don't feel shy and invite your friends. It could be a lot better to have a community where we can all share the good moments with each other, and sharing is caring. Anyways, onward to the summary, because this episode must come to an end at some point, Don't forget about the secret I shared though. It would mean a lot to me since I'm working on making more quality videos. So we started building the outline for the main tower, then proceeded to make a connection point with a sentry tower.
Just shut up! You keep running that mouth and I swear, if you don't shut up, I will so and shut myself, you imbecile! This place is already too disgusting for me. So just let me be silent!
That would enable access.
I said silence! Finally, I don't have enough bombs for this place, let alone you annoyed me when I checked